Nioh 2 is the follow-up to Nioh 1, which isn't called Nioh 1, but it's called Nioh. But Jake and Liam have played it. My name's Mike. I have not played it. I didn't actually finish Nioh 1, as we know is not called Nioh 1, it's just called Nioh.
Just Nioh, yeah.
Just Nioh.
Can you just tell us about Nioh, what the series is first, before we go into what
sure.
Nioh 2 is?
Nioh is a game made by Koei Tecmo and published by Sony, which came out on the PlayStation and then later on PC. It's based on samurai versus demons, basically.
Yeah.
But the demons are called yokai because that's just how it is in Japan, all right? And
They got their own words for stuff.
It's set in feudal era Japan, and the first game was focused on this Western samurai, this dude called William, and he was just fucking shit up in Japan. And then the second game, you play as your own character, human yokai hybrid, who's given the great task, the very sort of Greek mythological tasks of collecting a set of stones which make a blade that can kill the big head honcho yokai, and you are collecting these shards to do that. And along the way, you make friends, allies, enemies of the human variety, as well as face off against big, tough baddies in the vein of Dark Souls.
Okay, Liam, you tell us a bit about that, mate. In the vein of Dark Souls, what is the average sort of play session like in Nioh 2?
So by Dark Souls would be you pray at a shrine in the sun instead of a bonfire, and you level up an individual stat, so that could be your strength, your heart, constitution, skill, dexterity, and that scales with whatever equipment you've got on, or what weapon you're using.
Is it all sort of like samurai stuff, or is it...
It's all...
The weapons and shit.
It is all very Japanese inspired, so katana is... your bog standard weapon.
Your bog standard sword,
you can have 2 mini katanas, you can have hatchets, you can have tonfa if you want a bit of martial arts in your life.
Okay.
And then the armour is very Last Samurai looking type big suits of armour, or ninja robes.
Exactly.
And stuff like that.
You can cosplay as a shinobi, like a Ronin, or big heavy plated.
Like a big warlord type.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's the Japanese roots, you can throw shurikens
strong
and shit.
Even the fantasy elements are still heavily steeped in Japanese mythology as well.
From what I've seen, the yokai and stuff, it looks like the paintings, tapestries, that sort of it looks like they've inspired by that the art of kind of mythology in Japan, which is really cool. It's a really good way of setting it apart from Soulsborne stuff, I think, because it definitely has its very own strong tint to it, doesn't it?
Definitely does, yes. The high fantasy stuff of Dark Souls has been done quite a lot now. Yeah. So having
Dark Souls.
Dark Souls, there's been 3 of them. Yeah. 4 if you count Demon
exactly.
Souls.
Yeah, there's only so many times you can see a skeleton. Before you go, that's just a skeleton again.
In the first Dark Souls especially, it is a castle full of skeletons.
Whereas this is it's nice to see an Eastern setting, and one thing that you might not be aware of or whatever, but yokai are deeply embedded into the Japanese folklore of old, and people really do believe in these things. So to see an adaptation of something like the Japanese equivalent of, say, a goblin or a dwarf or blah blah, which the Western equivalent has been done to death. We're constantly hearing about elves, dwarfs, witches, and wizards and this and that. So over here, seeing a 3-headed spider, poof, they're finally. You know what I mean?
Bit of variety.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So that you get this kind of monstrous kind of aesthetic, but the majority of the game seems to be based around elemental environments, if you know what I mean. So this isn't an open world game like other Souls games.
It's levels, isn't it?
Level based.
It's level based, and I found that each level kind of has a theme, and most of the themes are very easy archetypal elements. So what I mean is, you've got an ice level, you've got a fire level, which is maybe a mine, and then the boss is going to be a bit smoke and embers. The ice boss, what's the boss going to be? Well, he's an ogre, but he's got a frozen arm or something like that. Then you've got a lightning level. So your whole level design's kind of filters through that. So you're always going to have either some sort of cave system or a little town. but then filtered through, it's a frozen cave system, or it's a town ablaze. So I'm kind of thinking a little bit about what's going on behind the scenes here. But when you look at the levels for the first time, they do stand out. They are cool. They are like nice. Like me and Liam on our way here to record this, we were quickly talking. Liam said, I'm on this level. And I said, oh, is that the ice one? Yeah. See? Easy to remember.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But
so you're talking a bit more kind of Banjo-Kazooie, Mario 64 than Dark Souls or something where... But having said that, again, there's very clear archetypes in Dark Souls.
Exactly. There's the swampy level. There's the fire bit. Yeah. So it's like that, but it's cool, and it's kind of got... And then the environmental storytelling's there.
So that's my biggest question really for this. As a couple of games, as Nioh 1 and 2, is like how does it compare to Dark Souls and Bloodborne in terms of the... How do I say this without just inviting criticism? Just like the depth of the story, if you know what I mean. Like, could you see yourself playing through Nioh, not having a clue what happened, but then playing through it again and learning a bit more? Or is it a bit more straightforward in how it presents the story?
I would say it's a bit more straightforward because it is a bit more story heavy in Nioh. There are cutscenes with characters exchanging dialogue and motivations and what they want to achieve, what their goals and ambitions are, and what they ask of your character, and stuff like that. But it does have like the Dark Souls depth in the sense that you have a journal and you can read about. So like if you beat an enemy, you get like a sort of bestiary entry, and you can read about the history of that yokai and what caused caused them to be like that, and like what mythology they're rooted in and stuff like that.
A bit like The Witcher or something, where you've just got
a bit, and then
because that's the thing as well in Soulsborne and stuff. It's just really obtuse and stuff, and the information is really sparse. Whereas in something a bit more traditional, you'll just have reams and reams of text telling you about everything. And The Witcher, the monsters in The Witcher have very detailed descriptions about all the monsters. Whereas in in Dark Souls or something, it's just a sentence or something.
With this, it's like you got that mix of very straightforward, like Liam saying, like there's plentiful the animations, like nearly every level starts and ends with one.
Right.
And then before that as well, you get kind of a mission briefing. But you can pick up on some really cool details. So I'll give you an example. I'll just talk about the very first proper level because I don't want to talk about anything else for spoiler purposes. So the first level is you are in like a town that was really well known for breeding cattle and horses that they would sell on to the soldiers to go into battle on, right? But the town's been ravished by yokai and war. I think it was war first, which then made the yokai. You know how it is. Ghosts on the battlefield and all that.
Demons feasting off of the evils of man.
So you go into the level, and then you've got this kind of bog standard town if you don't look at anything else. But then when you you think about it a little bit, you're seeing horse skulls kind of just in the distance, and there's a lot more stable buildings and things like that, and it sounds very obvious, whoa, there's horses in the horse town, but if you didn't read that at the beginning, you'd be like, oh right, and then you kind of, it builds up, and then there's a big watering hole, and there's buildings based around the water, and you think that's because of the horses. So there's a lot of cool clear logic, and my favourite way of them telling a story without telling you a story is the use of ghosts, which is really cool. Okay, so just like in Bloodborne and Dark Souls and stuff, you can see where a player's died, and it normally is a red spirit, and you can see the moments before their death. Well, in Nioh 2, just like Nioh 1, there is revenants, and it'll be like a red puddle, and it's like a grave, and you can summon that spirit and fight it, and if you beat it, you'll get certain parts of its gear. But it tells you how they died, and a lot of these ghosts are NPCs. They're not actually other players, although you can see other players' ghosts. So Sony provided us with an early copy. So when I was playing it was before public launch, and I could see loads of them. So I was looking at them, and some of it's quite funny. So at the edge of a bit of water, there's the username Drowned Fisherman. How did he die? Drowned. But then, you know what I mean? The plot's in the title, I guess. But then, I'm just about to go up a hill. It seems pretty quiet. And there's a dead guy on the floor. So you click on it, and it's like, Mr. Orochi, how did he die? Ambushed by an Enki. And then you walk, and then an Enki jumps down from a tree. But because I read that, I saw that coming, so I was looking around, and I avoided death. And it does that all the way through the game. You can use this as a very clever way of preparing for what's next. And it will normally, if just before you fight a big demon, sometimes there's a cloud of the Dark Realm. You don't know who you're going to come up against. But if you use these clever little
like environmental clues.
Yeah, exactly. So the ghost system's pretty cool for that. And then new to Nioh 2, there's a ghost system where you can invoke benevolent spirits from the benevolent graves. And they are like summoned allied NPCs. You can also summon other players, but that makes the difficulty a little easier to swallow because you have an ally. And even if the ally is not dealing much damage, it's doing the most valuable thing anybody can do in a Souls game. And it's take the heat off you. You can get a backstab in. You can just get a couple of free attacks in because, a lot of these enemies are humans who can block.
Yeah.
So that's a really cool feature, and I think it's something that will really alleviate the stress and pain of constant death more than Nioh 1 did, because you did feel alone a lot of the time in Nioh 1, and in this, if I'm struggling, I don't hesitate to get a spirit to help me out, and then I feel like it stopped me getting stuck in levels where I might feel like I was hitting a wall if it was completely offline. So that was cool.
Okay, so we had Sekiro last year, and a lot of comparison at the time with Nioh from you guys. You sort of compare, which makes sense. The setting isn't a million miles away, and the same kind of game in sort of very broad strokes. Anyway. So how does Nioh hold up, do you reckon, if you've never played any of the Nioh games and stuff, and you like Soulsborne, you enjoyed Sekiro, would you recommend Nioh?
I would, personally, but not because it is like an identical game.
Yeah.
Nioh does stand on its own. Its combat system is more like Ninja Gaiden than it is Souls, to be honest. Okay. I would say.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot more focus on Nioh in managing your stamina, or your ki, as it's called in Nioh. Whereas in Dark Souls, it's quite forgiving when you just swing away and lose your stamina.
Yeah.
And in Sekiro, you straight up get unlimited stamina, right?
And straight up unlimited in Sekiro. Whereas in Nioh, if you burn through your ki super fast, it actually punishes you for it. Yeah. And your character will be exhausted, and that leaves you open to getting smashed by enemies.
You get like a proper, it's like a death blow kind of move, isn't it? Like a special attack.
So it kind of demands patience in a different way. Like Sekiro kind of demanded you to be patient with its like counter attack system, and it's which was cool. You had to like kind of hold discipline, even though when you're fighting these big fucking scary enemies, you had to stay calm. Yeah. So this does that same thing, but in a different kind of way. By you have to control your attacks in a way.
Yeah, you definitely you can't just go wild, go in there wildly. Yeah. Like swinging away with your weapons. You have to sort of think, okay, I can get 4 hits in here, then I have to dash away, and you can do a key pulse, which
discipline.
It's a bit more disciplined, I'd say,
really
than Dark Souls.
Punishes you for being greedy. I'm very greedy in these types of games, and Nioh 2, you can't play it the same way. I'm playing it completely different than I would play a Souls game. But
it's so interesting, isn't it? How all these games sort of orbit the same sort of thing. They're all kind of similar, but in Bloodborne, it's you're completely rewarded for being a sick bastard, and you just attack, and even when you get hit, your reaction should be attack them, because you'll get some of your health back, and that's how they encourage you to do it. In Sekiro, it's about discipline. In Nioh 2, it's about discipline, but in a different way. You have to control.
I think Nioh 2, it's kind of systems on top of systems on top of systems, which is very daunting, I think, for new players. But when it clicks, you realise that gives you a great availability of options, and you can really play to your own style. So there is the ability to play a dex build, a magic build, a strength build.
Yeah, you've mentioned a spear a few times.
So I'm using a heavy build of a spear, so I can keep a safe enough distance away, so I don't have to roll around because I've got heavy armor and I don't want to do that. But I'm playing for the first time in a game like this ever, a 50-50 build of magic. So I'm imbuing my spear with flames, and I'm shooting fire out of one of my hands, and I'm having a really good time doing that.
That's pretty cool, because the spear and heavy armor is a bit like the self-defense coach's approach to fighting, isn't it? It's maintain personal safety.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly that. Yeah.
But you've added a bit of fire into the mix, so that's cool.
Exactly. So I'm finding it to be really interesting, and of course the boss battles are certainly something. They're very difficult. I'm finding myself dying to them often. But
we've not said the word Masocore yet, have we? Which is on the box of this one.
So if you've got this far, you can't be one of the Nioh 2 developers, because you would have turned it off as soon as you started liking it. As soon as we started liking it to Dark Souls, because they're very. I can understand, because Ninja Gaiden came before Dark Souls, and that was like the true hard bastard
You
game.
can understand why, hypothetically, they would be,
So they're very keen to make sure that this
They want to take their crown back.
Yeah, so they keep saying it's a Masocore game. They don't want to say Souls-like, because why give From the credit? So Masocore is the word of the day, and that's the word that they're using. And you know what? I like the name. I like it. It rolls off the tongue. It's cool. It's very cool. I'm enjoying Nioh 2. I am. I breezed through it for 20 hours, and I got a little bit bored of the side missions because they were reskins of the main mission maps.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then I kind of skimped out on that a little bit, and now I'm finding myself suffering.
You're hurting because of the... So you should do the side missions, really.
So my momentum has been stunted. So my advice, I've got two very, very quick pieces of advice to give to anybody listening.
All right.
Number one, don't give up on the side missions because you will suffer for it.
Don't be like me.
And number two, this is a very practical tip as well. Not even Liam knew this. Backstab, like in the Souls games, is available. Yep. Although you have to unlock it on the skill tree. And how you do that, it's in the ninja skill tree, and then it's the second skill you can unlock down. That's super useful because...
That's real practical advice.
Isn't that, though? Isn't that super practical? Because, the backstab ability is crucial in these types of games, and the fact that you can get a one-hit death blow on so many enemies just by unlocking it. Yeah. And the game is so full of systems, you could easily miss that. So don't.
That's a good one. That's Jake's last word. Liam, what's yours?
I also am really enjoying Nioh 2. In fact, I think I might be enjoying it more than I did the first Nioh game. And I quite often said Nioh 1 was the best non-Souls game.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like to have this one, which
I'm assuming you mean non-from software.
Non-from soft game, like this type of game.
Yeah,
but yeah,
Mike's Bloodborne radar was going off there.
Sorry. Yeah, like I'm really enjoying Nioh 2. If you've played Nioh 1, you will feel at home straight away with this one, because some people have cheekily taken to calling this Nioh 1.5 in how similar it is to the original. There's a lot of new gameplay mechanics in it that I think are good, like you get a little ability. When you kill a yokai, you can get the chance to get their soul core, which gives you their big move, like their special move. You get to use it. Yep. And you can. There's like a counter system, so if an enemy comes at you with their big bad attack, you get your timing right, you can counter them and smash them into the ground.
It's the Mikra counter from Sekiro.
It basically is, except they call it the burst counter in this one.
Yeah.
But that's a cool new addition, where instead of having to like run away from the big enemy attack, you can finally like, nah mate, I'm going to come after you instead. Yep. Which is always fun to do, especially when you get it timed right and you like smash them into the floor. It's great. Yeah, it's a really good game, and I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes. And the side missions, I do also recommend you do them, even though they are just sort of like the main missions but in reverse, or they've cut off an area and forced you into one little arena instead. That's probably my only complaint about it, to be fair, is it does seem like the side missions were a bit of an afterthought.
Yeah.
With just like reusing content. But the main game itself, the main missions, I'm having a great time with it.
Cool.
And I'd recommend it to anyone looking for a nice, difficult action RPG experience.
Nice. So that's what we think about Nioh 2. If you've been playing it, let us know what you think down in the comments, or you can send us an email to dearspecialmoves@gmail.com and we'll discuss what you think in the podcast, which should be out this week, which we've already done. We've also done a video about Call of Duty Warzone, which I keep forgetting.
Yeah,
and
doesn't get any
said
easier,
the name of it like a man in his late 40s, I would say. If you're a patron, we've done a bonus podcast this week as well, where we talked about quite a bit of games and stuff in the bonus podcast this week, didn't we?
It was almost
Silent
entirely
Hill,
games
stuff like
and
that.
rumours and stuff like that.
So if you're a patron, check out the Patreon feed and you'll get access to that. Thanks for watching. We'll see you very soon. Bye.